Hello YouTube, it's Sarah, and today I wanted to take a moment to talk to you about a book I recently finished listening to, The Faerie Prince by Rachel Morgan. This book is the second book in the Creepy Hollows series. It follows Violet, who is a fairy, and in this book she has recently become a fairy guardian. We get to see her graduate with her frenemy, Rin. The story follows Violet on her journey to become a fairy guardian. This is something that she has always wanted to do. Both of her parents were fairy guardians, and it is basically considered to be in her blood. So she works really hard because to be at the top of the class, you get to take a trip to the Seelie court. And this is important, especially for Violet, because her mother was also the top of her graduating class when her mother graduated. And on the trip, took some of her personal belongings and hid them in the Seelie court. And both of Violet's parents died when she was young, so she is looking forward to finding these mementos of her mother to feel closer. On the journey to be a fairy guardian and graduate, in this book anyway, she gets closer to, and I'm very happy about this, Rin, a friend slash enemy. They were friends growing up, but then when Rin's brother died suddenly, they kind of became enemies, and whenever they were in the same room, kind of always competing, and it wasn't a good idea to leave them alone in a room together. They also were not paired up on assignments at all because of their kind of battling. I really enjoyed this book, and especially the ending. Oh my gosh, I think that was the part that really did me in, because there were so many things just thrown at you all at once where it's like, that happened? What? Oh my god, really? She just, what? What is going on? Oh my gosh! In the first book, one of Violet's assignments is to take Nate back to the human realm because they think that he's a human when really he's a halfling. And so Violet kind of discovers this when taking him back to the human realm after he somehow mysteriously manages to follow her on the fairy path. And the fairy paths is a very interesting way to travel. The fairies have something called a stylus, which is kind of like a wand, and they can write in the air or on a wall or on the floor and open up these fairy paths where all you have to do is think of the place that you want to go, and you basically walk there in a short distance. So if, for example, I wanted to go from here to the Swiss Alps, I'd open up a fairy path and be there in like a minute. The magic rules of the realm are also very interesting, such as the fairy paths, as I talked about earlier. You can also shrink things down so that you can carry them, but you can only carry them, so much. So if you're going to battle, probably need to do something like what Violet does, and in the heel of her shoe she has a secret compartment where she can keep her emergency kit, so that if they're injured they have healing potions or burn salves kind of stuff. And it also helps that when retrieving items, you can quick shrink them down, put them in the secret compartment, and get the heck out of Dodge before the fairies or whatever other creatures are following catch up to you and seriously injure you, if not kill you. The characters are very believable, and I like how Violet and Rin, it's not a insta romance. This is the second book and they're just finally starting to work out their aggressions toward each other and realize that they have feelings for the other one. And even after they realize their feelings, they're still almost like their usual fighting, trying to work out with the other person kind of their thoughts. One other relationship that I enjoyed reading about in this book is Violet's relationship with her pseudo mother. After her father died, her mother died first, so then a few years later, I guess, her father died. And so who turns out to be her mentor, another fairy takes her in, and it is almost like a mother-daughter relationship, but at the same time it's not completely there. And so it's interesting to read about like how they work out their little things, because then there's also the mentor aspect where there's certain things that you may talk to your mother about but not your mentor, and so there's this kind of internal dialogue that Violet has of working out, okay, do I tell her or not? Plus Violet's kind of a, not even kind of, Violet is a personal, quiet fairy. She keeps her emotions bottled up, and so she doesn't really talk things through other than in her head. So we get a lot of internal dialogue of her working out the problems. And I think that was how, in the end, kind of this internal dialogue, that Rachel Morgan used that to lead us this way, when in reality is way over here somewhere. Very sneaky. I also enjoyed the subtleties of how things worked and how the reader was tricked to believe Violet's thought process when reality was over here, such as the secret messages that she gets. They're just signed with an initial, just one letter, and I was actually thinking it was one person, when in actuality it was someone else that we know. So I really enjoyed the characters, the plot, and the plot twists that were there, and it was basically the plot twists, I think, that sold me. But overall, I gave this 4 out of 5 stars and definitely recommend that you check out the Creepy Hollows series by Rachel Morgan, and I will see you soon with a new video. TTFN! Hello YouTube, it's Sarah, and today I wanted to take a moment to talk to you about a book I recently finished listening to, The Faerie Prince by Rachel Morgan. This book is the second book in the Creepy Hollows series. It follows I just lost her name and I'm listening to the third book. Violet. It's been her dream because of the trip that the